Voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto. And
today
we have a special. Yeah, go ahead, Max.
Today we're joined by a special guest, Mr. John Tiegen. Tig, how's it going?
It's going good. Not too bad.
So, for people who don't know who you are, in a couple sentences, describe how you have. Well, most people know who you are, but just for people who don't, talk a little bit about who you are and why you are such a big deal.
So you know that movie Postman? I was based off of that character. No, I was one of the GRS team members that were in Benghazi when the U.S. ambassador was killed and 3 other Americans. So
yeah,
that's a quick version.
It's a quick version. Tig was in Benghazi when everything went down, so we're happy to have him here today because what we're talking about today it isn't about that, but it is about the general idea of self-defense and what happens when all self-defense means are cut off, when you're penalized for defending yourself, mm-hmm. when police are ordered to stand down, and if the president sends in federal officers, he's declared to be a tyrant or a despot. Basically, the idea that no matter what happens, no one should be allowed to defend innocent people. That the mob should just be able to do whatever they want, which is what we're seeing in our cities today. So I'm glad to have you here. I think you can lend some good expertise on the issue. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.
I'll be lending something. I don't know about expertise.
He's a pretty good shot. Yeah. He might be able to shoot you all the way down there in Texas.
It might be. I don't know. There's a lot of humidity here. It might throw off the bullet. So let's get right into this because there's some news that broke yesterday that should basically outrage everyone. We've covered on the show the McCloskeys down in St. Louis who are being indicted for defending their property against an angry mob that was threatening to burn down their house, kill their dog, and kill them. I want to throw up image number 1 because we finally got the charging document against Patricia McCloskey, and I cut out some of it because I don't want to show her home address, even though it's public knowledge at this point. The important part of this charging document is that it actually reads that the defendant is in violation of the law because they had the unlawful use of a weapon punishable on conviction because it was, quote, a weapon readily capable of lethal use, and that she brandished that gun in an angry and threatening manner. The problem is that when the police actually took the gun out of the home, it was not operable. It was inoperable. Let's throw up image number 2 real quick. This is a document that local news has acquired showing that at the request of the assistant circuit attorney, Chris Hinckley, the actual technology division within the office disassembled, field stripped the firearm, and put it back together properly so that it could be fireable. So what they did was they tampered with evidence. They fabricated evidence. They're charging her with brandishing an operable firearm when the evidence actually shows that it was inoperable at the time. It's incredible. That's all I can really say about it. It's just an incredible. All eyes are on this case. For them to fabricate evidence like this, it's shocking.
You want to take a stab at that one? Because I think what's more shocking is the fact that they broke through a gate into a gated community that's private property. They threatened both of them, right? Threatened to kill their dog, live in their house.
And they had guns.
And they had guns.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So I was watching. This was coming through the pipeline. You're looking at social media stuff and just looking, and there's a picture. Obviously, of them two, of Ken and I'd say Ken and Barbie, but
Ken and Barbie,
yeah,
Ken and Barbie.
They're out there. They got their guns, but then you see the one protester with an AR, sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the protesters, they were friendly. They weren't doing this. They didn't have any guns. I'm like, did you not look at the picture? The protesters brought a gun. I mean, they have again. I mean, it's not saying it's not their right, but if you break into private property, even a private neighborhood, I mean, I have the same thing. I live in a private neighborhood. You come in there with, I'm coming at you with force. But that goes back to, I mean, this country's got where the criminals are more protected than the law-abiding citizens.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just there to protect yourself. California's a prime example. If somebody is crawling on your roof to break in and they fall through your freaking roof and they hurt themselves, they can sue you. Yeah. It's like, well, why are you even on my house? But again, it's we the people allow that to happen because, I'm so sick of hearing about the silent majority. To me, you're not silent majority. You're just a bunch of pansies. And you ain't doing anything. You're just sitting on your keyboard saying, oh, this, all that, but you ain't doing anything. You're just a bunch of pansies that you're not silent. You want to talk, but you don't do anything.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. And and that's why this stuff has happened. That's why, but I think those two were liberals anyways, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they were like kind of anti-gun. But hopefully they wake up and see the reality of their actions throughout the years of pandering to the Democrats and pandering to the gun grabbers and allowing this stuff to happen, because it's we the people who control it. It's we the people that allow that to happen. Until we stand up as a whole, and again, not as individuals, but as a whole, nothing will ever freaking change. And hopefully you get a bunch of semi-smart jurors that will see this and say, well, no, they actually have the right to protect themselves, and they had a reason to brandish those weapons. And because somebody comes in, again, breaks the gate, yelling, chanting, and they know the violence that was happening before this on top of that, so there's a history of the violence inside the crowd, so they, you got to put that up front as well. I would have did the same thing, if not probably actually engaged them, especially if they move forward and they had a weapon in their hand, because you're still a threat. I mean,
well,
the interesting thing about Missouri law. Go ahead, Joe.
Let's stop for a second. I want everybody to hit the share button, right? So obviously we know that we're on multiple. We're on Podbean. We're on Apple. We got lots of people to download, but Facebook by itself.
We're going on Spotify soon.
Oh, Spotify too. Awesome. Well, I want everybody to share, right? So Facebook throttles us, YouTube throttles us, so we want to be able to get it out there. So hit the share button, share it with your friends. The messages that we're actually talking about, the things that we're talking about, becomes ridiculously important that we're having a conversation about this, right? And so you don't feel like you're alone. There's lots of people out there that don't get an opportunity to hear a rational voice. It just, all they see is this insanity. So insanity becomes the new norm to them. So hit the share button, share it with your friends. Let's have a conversation. We'll have the phone system back up again, by the way, in the next couple of days, so we can take some more calls as well. But
the interesting thing about Missouri law is that you don't on your property to defend yourself. You don't even need to be met with deadly force. Right. You just need to have a reasonable expectation that the person coming at you is going to commit some kind of unlawful violence against you.
Right.
When you're on your property, it's castle doctrine. Your home is your castle. You have no obligation to retreat. So technically, they would have been within their rights to open fire. I'm glad they didn't. I think everyone's always glad when everyone can walk home from these kinds of things. Right. But they would have been within their rights to open fire. The fact that they're now being prosecuted for brandishing, I think it's called flourishing under Missouri law, for brandishing, it's insane. And to know that this woman, Patricia McCloskey, is being charged with brandishing an operable firearm, and the firearm was inoperable, and that they're trying to cook the books and basically they reassembled it to make it operable. No, this shouldn't happen. But this is just more evidence of the fact that self-defense, your right to self-defense, is being criminalized. It is being demonized. If you dare defend yourself from 100%. The mob, you're the villain in the story, no matter what.
We have this conversation, it seems like every day, where we're talking about common sense, and it doesn't seem to ever be common, right? We forget. So the news is actually putting out this message that, these peaceful protesters, even if you put all those peaceful protesters into one room, you still can't get to 500,000 people, right? So you have 500,000 people that are dictating to the other 330 million people in the United States what the new norm should be. So I mean, I think that we really just have to get to a point where we actually stand up and are willing to fight collectively. We got to be willing to lose something.
And right now they're going all out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. See what happened. You were telling me about what happened in Chicago.
Yeah.
Max, did you hear what happened in Chicago?
Yeah, yesterday we have video of it. You want to go right to that?
Yeah, let's
go ahead. Set the stage. Tell us what happened.
So the protesters were supposed to be going out, I guess, in pretty much taking down a statue in Chicago, and the police were there kind of protecting it. It had been pretty peaceful up until that day. So the cops, they weren't, they were just dressed down in normal uniform, and were not even prepared for what was going to happen. Obviously, the agitators, I believe that they are saying it was Antifa. They were using their banners out front, like the 6 foot by whatever 5 foot tall banners, whatever they were, walking with them, connected with the PVC pipe, but they were using as weapons because they would pull the banners apart and the PVC pipes are already tapered down to points. So pretty much just a spear. Yeah. The cops weren't ready for it. They halfway through the march towards the statue, they pulled out the umbrellas. They all changed into their Antifa gear, pretty much all their the typical blacked out stuff. So, and the reason why they do that, people I want to ask, is so they can't be identified when they do something. They can't say, well, is that guy there? Well, they all look the same. You don't know who's doing what. But they started bringing in more ammunition it's like bottles, rocks, or frozen water bottles and rocks, and they're throwing it at the cops.
Yeah.
They're using fireworks and stuff. I think it was 49 law enforcement officers were injured, 17 were put in the
49.
hospital. One pretty much is going to lose an eye. One freaking had his knee busted out. So this stuff is real, and they're coming out with force. They don't care because they just want to hurt people, and that's all they want to do. They want to destroy the history of this country. They're setting us back. I mean, look at all the segregation that's going on. It's self-segregation that's going on.
It's getting to the point now where the segregation is we're having more of a conversation about race than we are about accountability. It's not about accountability. I mean, if racism, again, I come from a biracial family, so for me, races, and you served in the military, you didn't care if it was
Nope.
pink with purple polka dots, but we get to the point where now all we're doing is having a conversation about race, right? And that's all we see. Oh yeah, you're black, you're Hispanic, right?
Well, the interesting part of this is that the Chicago police superintendent actually said that attack wasn't about the statue.
Yep.
Their investigation is revealing that was a coordinated attack against the officers who were defending the statue. So that they didn't even really care if they took the statue down. They just wanted to injure as many officers as possible. So it's crazy.
And just as a military standpoint, looking at it from my point of view, it was a very successful attack. So all that did just embolden them to do more and be more aggressive down the road.
Oh, yeah. No, something we've been talking about, Tig, on the show is that this is terrorism. It might not be a car bomb. It might not be a shooting. But any time that someone is using force to instill fear on a population for a political goal, this is terrorism. Right? I mean, seeing that makes you less likely to go outside, makes you less likely, in the case of Denver, to go to the pro-police rally. Right? This is terrorism, plain and simple. And the idea that if you dare send federal officers in to fight terrorism, you're some kind of despot or dictator. It's absurd at this point. I didn't know. I thought you were going to refer, Tig, to the shooting yesterday at the funeral in Chicago, because we have video of that.
14 people are injured.
That's
Did you hear about
that's
that too?
daily there, isn't it though?
No, but this was at
Well, this was
yeah, I know, but I'm just
a funeral.
It's just with so that I was watching the police interview. They talked about that a little bit, but they're saying this year alone so far, just in Chicago, they've recovered pretty much 5,000 guns.
Yeah.
Doesn't Chicago have the most restricted gun laws in the country?
Oh, yeah. It's illegal.
They do.
So again, the only people that the gun laws are damaging is a law-abiding citizen. It's putting them in a bad spot. So again, that's why the majority, the silent majority, need to start actually ponying up and doing something, because right now you're a bunch of pansies.
So let's play that cut. This is graphic because it's people running away. I thought when I heard this that it was like at an actual cemetery, but apparently this was right on busy street. It was not like in a cemetery. It wasn't in like a grassy area. This was right on the street, and 14 people were shot. So this was captured by a security footage. A security
this
camera.
is the store. This is the restaurant or something. Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's play it.
So let's play cut 4.
Holy shit. It's like Fallujah.
It just keeps going.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
It just keeps going. I mean, that was making the rounds today. It's incredible. That's an American city street, and the shots just keep coming and coming and coming. And you're right. The strictest gun control in the nation. They go back and forth between them, New York, New Jersey, and California. Strictest gun control. The police have been given stand down orders. And Trump, he's announcing today that he's sending in law enforcement, and the city's saying that they're going to do whatever they can to stop Trump from doing it.
Yeah, that's the sad thing is that the local law enforcement officers are the ones that are going to be enforcing that. But it's funny you said the social media and all the left people, they're just saying, well, they're sending in federal. They're saying they're not labeled or they don't have any recognition or. Actually, they do. That's what the patches are. That's it's designating their unit, and it's just funny how just the propaganda machine that they're pushing out there. And there's actually a Marine page that I'm part of, and it's it's almost divided now. I mean, they are dividing and conquering this country with the stupid propaganda that they're being allowed to push. I get it. People get federal agents coming in and wrapping people up and putting them in unmarked cars. This ain't freaking Saddam. I mean, this ain't Iraq. This ain't Libya. They're not disappearing. They're being detained, arrested. But that happens. U.S. Marshals been doing that stuff for decades.
Yeah,
and
they're
people
not just picking people out randomly.
Yeah, they're not. They're doing something.
Yeah, they actually know that this person did some violence or did something against another citizen or created damage. So they're actually pinpointing the people that are the problems, the instigators, the bad actors, and they're just arresting them. And look, it's no different than if you were to raid somebody's home and take someone in that actually murdered someone or committed a violent offense against someone else, right? There's arrest warrants that were given. It's not like they just came out on the street and said, hey, let's go get that guy over there.
I love how they're doing it, man, because they're jumping out of the car and just walking, and people are shouting. They're just silent. They're silent professionals, man.
Right.
And people are scared of that. And I think that's why this whole fear-mongering is coming out, because people are just scared. They don't understand what's going on. And the majority of the country, again, they're just a bunch of pansies. So they're so scared that they don't realize, again, the patches identify who they are. I mean, and they're protecting federal buildings. They're not patrolling the neighborhoods. They're not going in there. They're protecting the federal buildings.
I'm always really intrigued by how all this reveals the hypocrisy of the left. They had the Heroes Act where they wanted to honor police officers for their role in the pandemic, and then within a month they wanted to completely reverse course and defund the police.
Yeah,
right? A month ago, they were talking about demilitarizing police and getting rid of the MRAPs. And now they're criticizing police for using minivans. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know where this ends. You can't say that they need to demilitarize and then also complain that they're using minivans instead of MRAPs. I don't get it.
But I'm not sure that they want it to end. I think the ultimate goal has nothing to do with any sort of, sustained change. I just don't think that that's what we're talking about. I think what they're talking about is that they just want to destroy everything that America stands for. I think that these are bad actors. We talked about this literally every day, right? These are people that are less than one generation or a generation here that want to bring their crap hole environment that they have in some other country over to the United States and erode us from inside the organization. They're inside our government. They are inside of leadership. And they're eroding everything that we stand for. They're inside of our media. And so you have bad actors and people from overseas that are coming in saying, let's weaken the United States. They've been too strong for too long. Let's just destroy everything they stand for. And we're letting it happen. I mean, we're letting it happen.
I mean, Hamas just had their own little protest going down Minneapolis or Minnesota. I think it was Minnesota. Anyways, again, that could never happen like 5-10 years ago. but now it's being accepted, and they're saying we're going to tear this country down from border to border.
They blew up. They ran airplanes into buildings on September 11th. Okay, I just want to be clear. On 9/11, bad actors, radicals from overseas came over here and ran airplanes into buildings, and yet Hamas, a terrorist organization, this did happen, by the way.
Yeah,
had a parade down in Minneapolis down the street. As in, hey, we're here.
Well, just look at what Snopes did the other day. The founder, the person in charge of the organization that runs Black Lives Matter, she's a domestic terrorist.
Right.
And Snopes with Facebook fact-checked anyone saying that BLM was run by a domestic terrorist. They fact-checked it as half true, half false, because they said it depends on your definition of terrorism. That being caught trying to bomb buildings does not count as terrorism because it's subjective. I mean, that's what we're getting to at this point, where you can't even call people terrorists because it's apparently subjective. And Facebook hit pages, pages have lost their ability to reach people because they correctly said that the woman running BLM is a convicted terrorist. So
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, they don't like me very much anymore. Of course, they never really liked me, but
I want to play this footage. It's a short clip of Chicago Mayor Lightfoot. And this is actually from like a month and a half ago. It was from right after the protest started, when Donald Trump said he wanted police to crack down and stop the protests from getting out of control, which they refused to do. And now we're here in Chicago. This is Mayor Lightfoot's response. Let's go to cut 2.
And I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F and it ends with U.
Are you kidding me?
yeah, I remember that.
That is the mayor of Chicago. That's the mayor of Chicago respond.
What are you doing there?
A federal call to stop the violence, to stop it from getting out of control.
And that's one of the
That's what she said after you.
biggest. That's one of the biggest problems that's really, in my opinion, going on in this country they're not leaders, they're politicians. They're the ones that are truly eroding the future of this country with talks like that. Maxine Waters calling for violence against the opposition, which is, Republicans versus Democrats. And they're just, they're coming out, saying we need to defund the police, like Ilhan Omar. What's going to be next? You're going to have a religious police, patrolling the streets like Somalia, Saudi Arabia. I mean, these people are so pampered here and so blinded by what reality of the world is that they're allowing it to happen. I mean, you should see the things that happen to people that, especially in Saudi Arabia and Somalia, where she says, she's from, and pretty much her district is turning into Somalia.
They call it Little Somalia.
Yeah, but
that's what they call it right now.
The politicians that are not working together. Look at the stuff that Nancy Pelosi just came out and said. The Trump virus. This is the Trump virus.
Yeah.
No, this is a political virus. It's not an individual virus.
Let me pick your brain, Tig, because you are in a unique position to talk about this. Well, police are being given stand-down orders.
Yeah.
And obviously, what that feels like when you have the ability to save people, and you're told to stand down by people who don't care about the outcome. They as you mentioned, they have a political goal in mind.
Yep.
What does it feel like to be given that order? And because police are by and large good people, right? When you see those 49 officers getting injured in Chicago, they don't want to be standing out there in front of a statue. They wish that they would have the ability to push back the mobs who were attacking them, but they were given stand down orders. Do not go after these people. Talk a bit about what that would be feeling like for these cops, because it's happening all across the country.
Yeah, I know. For one, obviously my situation is definitely different than theirs, but it's you just feel helpless for the most part. I mean, it's like you want to do something but you can't. So the helpless, because being that you're a unselfish individual and all you want to do is help. I mean, that's why you're doing that job. That's why I went into the military. That's why I went into contracting. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, what they're feeling. And obviously the aftermath, especially here in Denver alone, when the cops pretty much got told to stand down, they feel like crap. the leadership, they don't care because they get to hide behind their curtains and their doors. It's the guys that are actually out in the front that got to feel the shame and get the shame. And we need to turn that. We need to turn that against them. Not the line police, not because they're the ones just trying to do the job. And they don't want to get fired. That's their livelihood. This thing eventually will end, so they need a job. Well, hopefully this will end. They still need a job to, provide for their family. Just kind of like that Officer Anderson out of up in Seattle. He ended up getting fired because he spoke out during the COVID. There are really good cops that but when you do it one by one, you're going to get fired. You're going to get picked off like like the snipers do. But if the whole day shifts, kind of like what they did, where was that at in Philadelphia? Where like the whole shift.
Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, Atlanta.
Where the whole shift came out and said, "Screw you."
Just called out sick.
We're done. We're not playing your game anymore. That's what it's power in numbers. You want to make a difference? A million man march. You need to do it as a unit, not as an individual. And that's what law enforcement need. They need to start taking their power back from these wannabe political police officers. That's one good thing about sheriffs. They can do what they want because they're elected. I guess except for the one up here, the one here in Denver. And that's why mayors and governors, they don't like the sheriffs because they don't have to abide by their stupidity. Where police chiefs, again, you can still step up, in which they should. And because at that level, you need to be stepping up and protecting the people that you swore to protect and serve. But again, when you're out there, I mean, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there was a group of guys, law enforcement officers, actually stood up and said, "No, we're not standing down. We are going to protect these people."
Yeah, that happened in Denver. Yeah.
Again, it does happen. I mean, you don't really hear about it. But again, you don't hear about the stand down stuff until afterwards. When you're out there, you're like, why the hell aren't these cops doing anything? Why aren't you doing something? But I wish they would pretty much unleash the dogs of war. Let the cops defend themselves. They get spit on. Somebody lunges at them. It's game on. Just like if somebody does that to me, it's game on. I'm throwing down with you. I don't care anymore. If you're going to suppress...
Well, there was the case in New York. There was a case in New York with the guy's name, the highest-ranking uniformed officer, Chief of Department Terrace Monahan. He was, when all the protests, air quotes, when all the protests were going on, he was the one who kneeled with the protesters. And that was a big photo op. Fast forward a month, and he's getting his head beaten in by a woman with a cane or a man with a cane.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I posted that.
It's cause and effect. It's absolutely cause and effect. When you force cops to emasculate themselves and to not enforce the law, don't be surprised when the top uniform beaten in by a protester with a stick. Right? It's cause and effect.
And all it's going to take, really, I mean, and this is we'll get into kind of what we're doing to actually organize against this, but all it's going to take is one ass beating. That's it. It's going to take a massive amount of teeth getting kicked in, and guess what? These guys will go back to the mom's basement, right? They'll go back to the drawing board, try to, in 4 more years, try to do the same thing 4 years from now. But if we don't start standing up and actually fully standing up and acting with courage, man, we're going to lose our country, man. This is no joke. We're seeing some stuff that, only existed in third world countries, right? And that could never happen here. Even at the worst of times during the civil rights marches, this stuff didn't happen. Now it's just all propaganda. It has nothing to do with truth. See, back then it had to do with truth. It had to do with the fact of giving people equal rights, equal opportunity. And yeah, do we live in a perfect society? It's not a perfect society. We're not going to, things are not perfect. And there are things, I'm going to tell you right now. My brother was killed by a police officer. And, I think that accountability is lacking in some areas of the police force. I just do. I think the bad police officers get away with a lot of stuff because there's no ceiling for good police officers to be able to hold them responsible. So, I'd like to see some of that change or move towards, some more accountability in their environment. But what we're seeing now is just lawlessness where they can do whatever they want. But if you defend yourself, you're going to jail. But if you don't defend yourself and you get killed, that person's never charged.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. We talked about this on the show. This guy down in New Mexico, Stephen Baca. Tiegen, I don't know if you followed that. He was at a protest to tear down a statue and there was some pushing and shoving. He ends up getting out of the group and running away, and they chase him down, beat him with a skateboard. 3 or 4 people start beating on him, and he pulls out his gun only then and defends himself. He's now being charged again. They were not going to charge him. They decided to redo the paperwork and charge him in the shooting. That it was not a self-defense shooting.
See, yes and no. That's where, not being an attorney, but I saw like the actual whole video footage. I don't know if you have, where he was standing there and he actually grabbed somebody from behind and threw him down, and that's what got the crowd to draw attention to him. Now, whatever happened to him should have happened to him until, to me, once they started shouting, "We're going to kill you, we're going to kill you," and they started using deadly force themselves. Right. That changes what happened, because he threw the guy down, he started moving away, so he was moving away from the situation, and then the agitators started coming in, so he put himself there regardless. I mean, we have a video of that. I don't feel totally bad for him, because he became the agitator and the aggressor before they did. But the fact that they came at him with weapons and saying, "I'm going to kill you," he should have every single right to defend himself, because he didn't use a weapon.
Let's play that cut 6. Go ahead, Joe, and then we'll play the videos.
Well, and we talk about this, but this goes down to circumstance. The same thing you say with George Floyd, right? I mean, he arrested 18 times. He was actually committing a crime when he was being arrested. He resisted arrest. So none of that stuff really plays a part in the fact that they need on him for.
Well, the thing is that he didn't even die from the knee. He had no trauma to the neck, no nothing. It was all the drugs he was on that actually ended up killing him.
But what I'm saying is that they want to forgive everything that he did. You know, holding a knife to a pregnant woman, everything that he did, as if the guy was a Boy Scout. Right? Same thing could be said for this, and I agree with you, but I disagree with you. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have thrown that guy to the ground. But he did retreat. Like, after it was over, it was over.
Exactly.
Right? He was trying to get away, and they basically wanted to
escalate it even more. They wanted to continue.
2 different events. If we're going to look at events that way, we need to look at it that way. And frankly, I would have drawn down.
No, me too. Yeah, I'm not saying he was completely wrong, but he brought the attention onto himself.
Yeah.
That's all.
Let's play that. We have both clips. We have the clip of him doing the shoving, and then we have the clip of them following him and beating him. So let's play cut 6 first, and then we'll play cut 5. So let's go to cut 6.
I mean, so right there, he was pretty much that. It should have been done. They chased him away.
So, no doubt, he assaulted someone. Unless there was something going on there we don't see. That there's assault, there's battery, there's definitely things going on there. But the minute he left, and he started being chased by people who were not assaulted by him, it became a separate incident.
Yep, it did.
Because he's retreating.
100%.
And let's play the second video. Let's play cut 5. This is what happened after he retreated.
Get his license plate! Follow him! Follow him! Get his license plate! Follow him! Get the fuck out! Dude, you guys! He's gonna fucking kill you! No! He's gonna fucking kill you!
Oh, scream! Sorry.
The screaming gets me every time, because you don't want to laugh, but they have all this courage until the gun comes out, and then they start screaming like a little girl, right? So when I look at that, I see 2 incidents.
Yeah.
I see that there was pushing and shoving, but I don't see that as he was there just to push and shove people, because he pushed someone and then he immediately ran away. If that's the whole purpose he went, I would be very skeptical. Then when he starts walking away and he's chased by people he never touched, when you shove someone, that doesn't give someone else the right to just start beating you with a skateboard. So 2 incidents. If they want to charge him with the battery, if they have other footage that proves that it was unprovoked or whatever, fine. But to charge him with unlawfully shooting someone when he's literally hearing someone shouting at him, "They're going to kill you."
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like it's wrong.
Yeah, he had every right to defend himself. I mean, he was getting attacked by multiple attackers with multiple weapons
on the ground.
Yep. So
he didn't actually draw until he had already fallen to the ground with them on top of him.
Well, and they were beating him with the skateboard And I saw the guy that got hit with the skateboard, a longboard at the event. It cut him. I mean, literally cut his.
It can kill you.
His eye. Yeah.
If it's hit right. I mean.
Yeah, it's.
There's no doubt about it. So for them to come back and say we're not going to charge you, they redid the paperwork. Now they're charging him. We have the woman in St. Louis being charged with brandishing a gun that was inoperable, and the police have turned it into an operable weapon. They disassembled it, field stripped it, put it back together so it could fire, and they're saying, "Oh no, it was always operable." It's just who has the right to use force in this country? If the people don't have the right to use force to defend themselves, the police are given stand-down orders, and the feds aren't allowed to come in.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this before. The only person that the left seems okay with using deadly force are the rioters, the looters, the mobs, the gangs. Mm-hmm. What am I missing? It just seems like it's so obvious that they just want no good guys to be able to use force.
Nope. They don't.
Yeah, and then I guess this is what we've been talking about, right? I mean, we've been talking about actually creating. Look, if all they know is force, and they can't actually pick them out of a crowd, and they can actually have violence against people that are just the citizens here, then we have to come together. We have to.
Violence needs to meet violence.
Well, yeah, violence. If that's all they hear and that's all they see, then great. We'll meet them with a higher degree of accountability because we'll just break teeth. And I don't mean that from the perspective that I want to hurt anyone. We were talking about this morning. We don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to take up arms against another citizen of this country. You just don't. But if we're going to allow them to destroy everything that we've built up and the things that the sacrifice have been made over the last 200 years, I don't see a choice. I don't see that we have a choice. I think the choice is already made. They've made it. They've drawn the line in the sand. Now we're just going to take care of business.
Yeah. We're not Obama.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah,
well, I know you aren't, Tig. You're definitely not Obama, Tig.
I don't draw a red line and let them cross it and not do anything. So to me, they've already crossed it.
I got a new line. Wait. I got one more line. Just this last one.
So so we're actually, we're doing something now. And
So, Tig, you obviously you're a veteran. You have experience as a contractor, obviously. What are your thoughts on the idea of sending federal officers into these districts? Because you have kind of multiple different perspectives on this when you were actually uniformed military and when you were hired as security. What are your thoughts on the federal government sending, not necessarily contractors, but DHS officers, U.S. Marshals, Secret Service? What are your thoughts on them sending the feds in?
I mean, if the local leadership are, I'm just going to use, they're going to be pansies and allow, federal buildings to be defaced and destroyed, I think the federal government has a right to come in and protect it. It's kind of like, consulates and embassies around the world. They're supposed to be protected by the local entity. And if they're not, guess who does? We do. So I think they're doing the exact same thing and Trump, he's getting tired of it because it comes out of taxpayers' money to fix this stuff. So he's sending in the troops to protect it, and they're not patrolling the streets. I don't think they are. And I haven't seen any of that. I mean, when the building starts getting attacked, they come out and they defend the building. If they want to start throwing, again, the federal police probably have different ROEs, which is rules of engagement, than the local law enforcement does. They can probably be a lot more aggressive, which they are, and. Obviously the pansies are going to sit there and they're going to cry about it, but they have every right to protect federal property. To me, I think these local politicians are not upholding the Constitution, which is providing a safe environment for us, liberty and justice, and they're not doing that. They should be removed from office or arrested because they are going against their oath of office, in my opinion. And same with the police. If they're not standing up and protecting the citizens, especially at the the police appreciation day when they had permits to do it, they are obligated to do that. The police chief himself should be charged with not doing his duty because and even the commanders should be charged, in my opinion, because they're not providing the service that should have been provided in the first place, and they're allowing people to get beat and hurt. They should be liable. Every citizen that was hurt and pretty much maybe losing.
Should file a lawsuit.
Yeah,
because the mayor said stand down. Let them just beat on people.
So until they are held actually accountable for their little pin pushing action.
Yep.
Nothing's going to happen. Just like what happened in Benghazi, nothing will ever happen or change until people are actually held accountable. You know, if somebody was killed, they should be held for a minimum of involuntary manslaughter. That's how you make change. You hold these people accountable.
Have you seen the Denver Police Department's response to the protesters who broke up the pro-police rally? Have you seen it?
You see it?
But to me, it's still I wouldn't accept it at all. It's not it's a cop out. They're trying to protect their ass. They should be held accountable. Anybody that's injured, that's got a hospital bill, should be freaking suing the crap out of the police department. And not really the police department, the individual police chief, police commander, and the mayor and the governor.
Yep.
Because they allowed it to happen, and it was sanctioned. They got the right permits, and so they should have been protected under that right, and they were not.
Yeah. So I'll read a little bit of this, the statement that the police put out, not all of it, just one paragraph. In the days leading up to this event in support of law enforcement, the Denver Police Department expressed concerns about the safety to the event organizers. The organizers elected to move forward with the event in an open public space and provide security as required by the city's permit process. And then they say, when protesters entered the open park area where the public event was being held, they did not commit a crime. So it's just incredible to me because the way I watched it, there were people brandishing. Like, we want to talk about brandishing clubs, brandishing collapsible batons, punching people. The idea that when they got into that park, they didn't commit crimes just seems so absurd to anyone. And I'm sure it looked even worse there. But I just, the whole statement is put out to blame the organizers who were doing this for the 6th straight year, and to basically explain away the actions of the protesters. I use that air quotes. It's just disgusting, and it's so obviously political.
And it's just going to embolden them to do more and be more aggressive. That's all it's going to do.
What are we going to do when this becomes a mass epidemic, which is almost there? What are we going to do when we have to defend our homes, right, privately? I mean, you want to talk about a massive purge that could happen. I can tell you right now, if somebody comes on my property right now, I'm not asking any questions, right? I'm just not.
I got a tractor.
Yeah, I got a tractor. Got a tractor. Just making an MRAP or something? Just turn it into an MRAP?
It dig holes pretty fast.
Mine-resistant armored tractor, MRAP.
Dig holes pretty fast. Hey, what are those mounds of dirt? I don't know.
No, you smooth them out. There's no mounds.
Obviously, we're kidding. We're not going to be burying anybody yet.
That's where my dead cow is, I swear.
Yeah, it's a dead cow. There's a lot of dead cows. Why do you have so many dead cows here?
It was like
COVID.
that. It was that way when I found it.
It was COVID.
Someone else did it.
Look, you see what happened in Seattle, though, right? And then you just move down and what they're doing in Portland. And the Portland's been 45, 46 days, 47 days of just...
No, more than that. They're in the 50s. 56, I think, 57.
Why can't we just let the police do what the police do, right? And deal with the consequences afterwards? Why not? Why is the leadership so weak that they're willing to put their citizens that pay taxes in danger to let these Soros-backed dirtbags do the things that they're doing in our communities? Why? I can't even imagine, even if it was a political play.
Because they're cowards.
I think that's what it comes down to, right? They're just so afraid. They're so frozen by... Actually, I think that this is their agenda. This is what the left wants. Mm-hmm. The left wants to literally erode everything we stand for as a country, create all of this chaos. Somewhere behind the scenes, bigger things are happening. They just want Trump out. I mean, if this is all about Trump, which it feels like,
it's not going to stop with Trump.
What happens when he gets reelected? What happens then?
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be LA riots times 1,000.
So, Tig, tell them what's happening. Tell them what's happening in Colorado and how that's actually going to be growing across.
I thought you were talking about the weather.
No.
I was going
we've been having these conversations about building out a community organization.
Yeah.
Right?
So I did kind of two of my own little protests. I wouldn't say my own, but started kind of two of them, and they turned out pretty good. And I kept getting hit up by other people pretty much across the country saying, how did you organize this? How did you do that? How did you get people together? I just did a post. So then I started seeing more stuff going on, just the stuff in Seattle, the destruction of pretty much a whole town, a whole freaking city just looked like a combat zone, and the police couldn't do anything about it because they're just outnumbered. And you have all these keyboard warrior patriots just, again, trying to figure things out. But so I decided, you know what, if nobody else is going to do something, I'll do something. So I'm starting an organization. We're going to change the name, but I'm not going to say exactly what. So right now it's under United Volunteers of America.
Yeah.
That name's going to change.
It's the United Volunteers of America Book Club.
Yeah,
Book Club.
And again, the biggest portion of it is just to organize the patriots who are tired of seeing the destruction, and they can come together and protect their neighborhood and defend and protect what's ours. That's pretty much what the motto is. And because I'm sick of seeing small little pockets of people trying to go out and make a difference, but they just get squashed. I mean, they're getting crushed. We got business owners trying to protect their business from being destroyed, and they're being pulled out in the street and beaten and killed.
Right.
You got, retired cop trying to protect his buddy's business. He's getting shot over a freaking TV. And
did you see that they found a burned body in one of the stores? Months later,
yeah.
in Minneapolis, they were clearing the rubble. They found someone who was burned to death inside.
It's nuts. Well, a lot of people don't realize they're also using some very sophisticated fire bombs there. They're using two chemicals. They're using motorized systems that would blend the fuel together, light the buildings on fire, and so they burn a lot faster. A lot of people don't know about that. And they probably won't. I probably won't ever post the actual picture of the incinerator device because I don't give anybody the ideas how they did it. But
yeah.
that's the stuff you're up against.
But this is the stuff that was in the Middle East too. I mean, you face this stuff over there.
It's insane. And then the really last straw for me was when I heard about the protesters blocking the firefighters from getting to a fire to rescue a kid, and he got freaking burnt to death. And then you got these moms of freaking Portland standing up, oh, protecting the protesters. Why don't you protect that damn kid? Why don't you protect that store owner?
Yeah.
The protesters are putting themselves in harm's way. They're the ones doing the violence. They're the ones encouraging the violence and the destruction. Hey, moms, why don't you stand up for the right thing? But so I got this thing together. It's still in the infancy process for the most part, but it's growing really fast. It's growing fast. I got a bunch of followers on it on social media. Actually, I shared this podcast on the page, but it's growing, so people are listening. But I can't grow it so fast to where it fails. Again, I'm thinking a long-term big picture where, Patriots, for hopefully years to come can know where to go and how to organize, know what's going on in their state, the local cities. If something happens, they can come together immediately and respond to the destruction of, the statues. Because, not all statues, they shouldn't be maybe where they should be. But, again, It reminds you of our history, good or bad. If you don't know your history, you're going to eventually repeat it. But then you also know where you come from. You don't know who you are unless you know where you came from. Otherwise you're allowing, especially a lot of these liberals that are pretty much rewriting the history book and deleting, pretty much a lot of the good things that also happen in this country and just destroying it, putting nothing but negativity or fabricating a lot of the negativity that they believe actually happened. So, but anyways, go back to what we're doing. We're growing it. It's Colorado's going to be where it's going to really kick off from. It's going to be the blueprint. And it's not a militia. It's not a 3% group. It's just Patriots to come together who are tired of it.
You're not Boogaloo Boys?
No, we're not Boogaloo Boys.
But the whole idea is that if you just want to stand up for your community, right? We're not going to turn people away that want to defend their community. We're just going to make sure that it's the right type of people that understand, that this is not about bullying people. It's not about we don't want to become as what Antifa is. We don't want to become. We just want to be able to have peace and prosperity in our environments.
Because again, like we did in Colorado Springs, we did a call for action. About 100 of us showed up because we heard the Quifto was supposed to show up, and they actually did. It was about 100 of us again that showed up. We let them. We weren't there to stop the protest. We were there to start the looters and the rioters. And is what happened. We actually had somebody infiltrate the protest and was, dressed out in their little giddy-ups, and they started talking. He started, talking their lingo, and they started opening up their backpacks to him. They had, it was full of rocks, not little tiny pebbles, but, hand-sized little nice river rocks. And
that happened here. That happened here in San Antonio too. There was a group defending the Alamo, and they were just standing there very peacefully, not going after anyone. All of a sudden, someone shows up that they'd never met before, dressed up, kitted up like they are, and he starts talking crap to people, like trying to instigate. And they're like, whoa, 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 who are you? So there's a lot of that going on. I laugh when I mentioned the Boogaloo Boys because Boogaloo was a meme. These people aren't actually saying that they're going to overthrow the federal government wearing Hawaiian T-shirts, right? They're not really. It was a meme, but they were so quickly smeared to the point where they're now labeled a terrorist group, which there might be some in there. But that's the biggest concern, because anytime you start creating a group that is to bring patriots together, to let them know when it's time to start doing the patriot stuff, there's going to be forces at play that are going to try and demonize it and vilify it.
Oh, I was already labeled the leader of a white supremacist militia 3% racist group.
Can you actually say that all?
It takes me a minute to say it because I'm just like, what? Again, we weren't even a group. I just made a post and a bunch of people showed up.
It was just you. It was just you at one point.
Yeah, I'm my own leader of my own militia. But you know what? Then they came after me and started to try to, they got a hold of Humane Society. They're trying to get my dog taken away. They're trying to get this other veteran's dog taken away. They're trying to figure out, where I worked. Well, I'm a public speaker, so I don't really have a job they can call and harass.
Just give them the address in Benghazi. Let them track you down there.
But that's how these people are. They're so afraid of people standing up to them, and they go after where you work. They go after you personally, and they take it a step beyond what it should. And so that's another reason why it kind of drove me to do it. You know what? Fine. You want to say I'm part of something? All right, I'm gonna bring it. You better bring it back because I'm coming after you. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I will stand my ground. I will not back down. So you can come at me with your skateboard. Go ahead. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and frankly, the thing is that we got to stop talking, right?
Yep.
Stop talking and start defending our communities, and that means statues, like it or not. There is a process. If you want a statue removed, you can actually go through, right? So you can actually petition to put it on a ballot. You can vote it out, right? So if the population votes 70, 80%, which has happened, against leaving a statue in place, because it does, we shouldn't be look. There's things that are good and bad in our history that we have to recognize, right? But if you start taking away all the things in history that you don't like, so pretty soon there's nothing left other than a narrative that they've actually recreated. That's when you get into a really dangerous environment where we forget about all of the sacrifices people have made long before us, right? And continue to make today.
Well, the thing is, they're going after things they don't even understand what they stand for. I mean, they're defacing the Tuscany, statue. Those are the first freaking. They don't even understand what they're even doing for the most part. And honestly, a lot of it is these cowardice white just self-righteous.
But listen, there's an underbelly that has actually infiltrated education system, and these are people that literally are. I'm just going to say it. They're from other countries that are here, got an education here, got into the education system, infiltrated that, and basically have indoctrinated our kids, right? So remember, Max, that you were talking about that 70% or 75% of high school students said that they were patriotic and that they were proud of their country.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden,
as soon as they go to college, it drops like a rock.
Yeah, it drops to like 30%, right? Because the colleges are teaching them that it's not great to be American, right? It's not great to live in a free country, to be patriotic, right? There's all this bad stuff. They want you to ignore all the blessings this country brings to you, but tell you how bad everyone is, right? And, what's really interesting is that I'm having conversations with, obviously the company is very diverse, and we're having conversations about this, and they're like, well, I don't feel that way, but I think other people might feel that way. And I'm like, you mean pink unicorn? Like there's a pink unicorn out there, and it happens. So that's what we should change our entire society because of that one person. I truly believe that the things that we're dealing with today are directly correlated to bad actors outside the country, right? They're just, I mean, you had the thing that, what's her name was said at the press conference yesterday, right? who works for Al Jazeera.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, she claims that she didn't call her a lying B word.
Yeah.
She claims that she didn't. And some people say they hear it both ways. Either way, it was very disrespectful.
How do you hear it both ways? Oh, you don't want to engage?
Well,
You're a lying.
I did hear one. Well, I did hear one where it was slowed down, and I couldn't really tell what it was, but it didn't sound like a lying B word. But you show it to 50-50. People think that that's what they hear, right? I love what Kayleigh McEnany said. She said, listen, if she says she didn't say that, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that the president has never been afforded. I thought that was a very graceful way for Kayleigh McEnany to respond to that. Because either way, it was despicable how that press conference went on. But I mean, that's how they treat all of their press conferences. It's trying to just score points, political points.
Well, I think we're I don't want to say eventually. We're at that point right now where it's going to be met with force. I mean, I don't see how to avoid it. And Max, we've been talking about this for 4 months. That hey, it's going there. I'm telling you, we're headed towards war. We're headed towards the war. The closer we get to the election, I mean, talking about what they're going to do at the voting booth. Are they going to show up to get people to not vote on election day? Right? Are they going to show up to intimidate people at the voting booth? And we're talking about ways that we can actually protect voters to walk and actually have their right to actually vote. Nothing is off the table for these clowns. And if we don't get it under control now, if we don't actually get it under control now, I'm telling you, come election day, we're going to be dealing with things that we weren't prepared to deal with, which is one of the reasons why we're doing the things that we're doing to get this message out, right? And the things that Tig is doing to build up a book club.
Very good reading book club.
Very good reading book club. Yeah.
I'm reading one of the articles from Colorado Times Recorder, where you headline that event in May at the Capitol building, and it takes them 3-4 paragraphs to go from talking about how you were known for surviving the 2012 attack in Benghazi to all of a sudden talking about QAnon, anti-vaccines, and then paragraph 4, they're talking about anti-government militias and extremist groups. Yep. It's amazing how they don't even see anything wrong with it.
Nope.
It's just
the thing is,
by association.
Their liability needs to be removed, so we can go. I should be able to go after them for slander and defamation, in my opinion, because
we can do that.
Can we?
You want to do it?
I want to do it.
Done it.
Well, so the way they're writing this one, I don't know if you've seen it. They're a bunch of individual statements that might be true, but they're creating the appearance that you're involved in it.
Yep. By
showing your picture right next to it.
Right.
It's very, very deceptive because you're obviously not anti-government. You served your country. How they could just associate? Oh, you headlined an event that was. It said several attendees showed their support for anti-government 3%er movement.
Wow. I didn't see a lot of those people there at all.
Yeah, I'm so anti-government. I'm part of Trump's Veterans for Coalition board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at being a white supremacist or anti-government at all.
I think you are. I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you what you think. Can I?
Tato does that a lot.
Yeah. But we laugh about it because it's so ridiculous, but these people actually are deranged. They actually believe this stuff, right? So this media is being used. They're actually weaponizing media. They're weaponizing technology in order to get the dumbest among us. These are the dumbest human beings among us to actually believe this stuff, right? It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah. It's I mean, over there we had multiple races, multiple religious beliefs, backgrounds, and I don't care who you are. I really don't. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I'm going to do what I need to do.
As long as they have your back when it counts, right?
Exactly.
Correct.
To us, that's all that matters. We don't see color. We just see action, and that's it. That's how we. Well, a majority of the military guys and probably law enforcement, we base everything on your action, and not your color. But the problem with the left, they base everything and anything off of race,
right,
and homophobic or whatever, and that's what they do, and it's working. I mean, because You know, they spread this false narrative, and they keep telling it over and over and over and over, and now it becomes the truth. It's still not the truth.
But we're not very good. Let's admit something, Tig. We're not very good at keeping our voice out there, right? We say it once and we're like, forget it. This is just not even worth my time.
Yep.
And so we stop speaking. So we're arm wrestling, and we're not winning the arm wrestling because we actually don't have a voice that's actually out there speaking. We're not consistent.
Nope.
Right? So on our side, we're reaping the benefits of years of just getting out and saying that's BS, that's BS. And then we go home. 2 weeks later, we'll come out and say that's BS.
Yep.
But the 2 weeks in between, they're talking to people and wearing them down every 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And so we embolden them by not speaking, by not being bold. We're afraid.
Yep.
Oh, they're going to target our business. They're going to target our company. They're going to try to get me fired.
Exactly, and that's the sad thing.
But we don't do the same thing. Why can't we do the same thing? We got plenty of us.
Oh, we are.
That's what we're doing. I mean,
We're going to.
And really, that's what it's come down to. Is there's a. I don't know if you saw it, Max, but there's a woman that was at the protest that pushed a black woman over the steps that was there to support the police. Right, so she pushed it. She is the manager. I watched her do it. I happened to see her stuff out there. Right, she pushed a woman over the deal, screaming at her that you're a traitor to the. She's a white lady, right? She's a GM at a King Soopers here in Colorado. She's a GM here, right? She's got all sorts of stuff on. Says no party for the pigs. She has videos where.
So why don't we just say where she works?
Oh, I did, and there's a lot of people that
say
did
it right now.
Huh?
Which one is it?
It's the one in Castle Pines. It's the King Soopers.
It's the only one. It's the only one in Castle Pines.
I think we should actually organize an event and show up there with 700, 800, 900 people
and get her fired, like they do us.
Right
on Castle Pines Parkway.
Yeah, but I think we should. I think we should actually go in there, and have a protest right in front, a pro-police protest right in front of the King Soopers. Because you know what? She won't have a job then.
No.
She won't have a job. And she's like, oh, poor me. You're trying to get me fired. You're damn right we are. Right? You sit in our community and you call the police pigs. Who do you call when things go wrong at King
He's going to call
Soopers?
when somebody starts robbing your store.
Oh, she's not going to call anybody. She's going to, sit around
She's going to call BLM and Antifa.
Yeah. Please come help us.
Is that going to be the new police force, Antifa and BLM?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, they like to. I call them LARPers. That they're live action role players. They actually, if you actually look at these people, Josh loves it because Josh is a LARPer himself.
Shut up. Josh the LARPer.
Yeah, no, you look at like what was going on in the Chads, where part of their security was people dressed in hockey pads pretending to be superheroes.
Yeah.
That was part of their community watch, right? And so don't act surprised when people start getting gunned down in the community when you hand off policing responsibilities to Red Ranger. Like, it's not that surprising when people start getting shot and killed.
Yeah, to me, these
people are LARPers.
That was a complete disgrace to this country allowing that to happen. Complete freaking disgrace for all those millions of veterans that sacrificed their lives to keep freaking the Nazis and the Japanese from coming in here, and they just pretty much just crapped and pissed all over their graves, allowing that to happen.
And it's continuing to happen. But that's why I say that it's foreign actors. It's bad actors from overseas. I remember, obviously I did negotiations overseas in the Middle East and Africa. I worked in conflict areas. Guys like you actually protected me, right?
It was my mistake.
Yeah, my mistake. It's your mistake that I'm here. But I remember there's lots of organizations that literally came to me and said, hey, listen, we want to sponsor you. I'm like, what are you talking about, sponsor me? Well, we want to pay you so, that you can, when you go back to the U.S., you can represent us. I said, that's called lobbying. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not a lobbyist. Well, we don't want you to lobby. We just want you to support what we're doing here, right? And I was like, no, what? You want to pay me? That's what they do. They literally pay people, ingratiate them, feed them well, have them come over, talk about how nice of people they are, right? While they slit the throats of others behind them.
So can I go over there and say, okay, you give me the first 6 months up front, and then I just come out here and sit down?
Yeah, so it was a courting process. But look, I worked between Muslims, Christians, and Jews. I worked with an organization that, actually I founded an organization that helped interfaith dialogue. And the further I got into it, the more smiles you got, but you knew You knew that that wasn't a real smile.
Yeah.
You knew there was no authenticity behind it. So there is an agenda built into everything that happens across the world, and that agenda is coming to our front doorsteps. It's not a mistake that Minneapolis, which is, by the way, one of the highest area of refugees in the country, right? Minneapolis is, that they face the type of problems they face there, because lawlessness actually it favors them.
It does,
right?
Completely favors them.
And it's not a mistake that we have marijuana that's legal in our communities. It's not because we woke up one day and said, hey, look, let's have this really strong marijuana, which, by the way, is almost as potent as some of the other drugs that they have out there. It's not a mistake that we have homelessness problems now, and we have unemployment issues amongst young people, and we have mental health issues. All of that stuff is actually interconnected to things that have done to erode our communities, right? It's not a mistake that you can go to different states that are not run by liberal junkies that are doing well, that don't have the same crime rate, that aren't facing mass protests, right? They just aren't, and looting and rioting, they just aren't. But if you go to a Democrat-controlled environment in our country, there's not one that you can speak of that's controlled by Democrats that isn't eroding, that the education system isn't eroding, that as they're yelling racism, they're doing it to themselves.
Yep.
I mean, the Democrats are basically eating their own, but not the way you would think, eating their own, like attacking each other. They're just destroying the black community. Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood. Let's stop blacks from having babies. Right?
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy that they.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead. No.
What about Hillary Clinton?
No.
That's crazy. Where they're removing Margaret Sanger from their buildings because she was a eugenicist who wanted to rid the world of black people.
Right.
That was her goal in life.
Right.
And they're like, okay, we're going to take her off of the buildings, but we're going to keep the actual organization she founded to do just that.
Right.
Like there's such a disconnect where they're like, okay, well, she wanted to make sure that black abortions, she wanted to facilitate that. Okay, so that was horrible, but we're going to keep doing it. It's just, I'm shocked.
You look, if you get back to faith, right, and some people have faith, some people don't. Some people actually, religion means something to them. God means something to them. Some don't. I understand. But if you strip God out of everything and you go back, it is in the Bible. It's in the Quran. It's in the Bible. It's in the Torah. It's even in books related to Buddhism, that the devil will basically deceive you, right? And I don't want to turn this into a religious deal, but he will deceive you. He will come as one thing and represent himself as something different. That's what Democrats are. Democrats, there's a large majority, not large majority, there is a lot of them. See, I corrected myself, Max.
Yeah.
That are pedophiles, rapists, and closet racists. That's what they are. Show me I'm wrong, right? Show me I'm wrong that the governor of Virginia didn't dress up in blackface or a KKK outfit while he was in med school. He wasn't in high school. He wasn't in college, undergrad. He was in med school. And he dressed up that way, yet you want to keep him because he has a D on his chest. And somehow now he's for you.
He's reformed.
He's reformed, right? And then you get down through the path of the Epsteins, the Michael Pincus, the Clinton, the Maxwell. I can just go down this huge line where pedophilia is now like a new norm. It should be okay that they sleep with 6-year-old kids.
They're trying to
disgusting.
Normalize it. It is.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Everything that the Democrats stand for is disgusting and evil. I'm sorry, you want to kill black babies but I'm for it's choice. They wrapped it in choice. They took something and they made it look like something else to say, no, they're trying to oppress you by taking away your choice to give up to kill your baby, right?
What was it that George Stephanopoulos' wife said? Do you guys see that? George Stephanopoulos' wife said this week that parents should watch pornography with their kids because you can't stop them anyway. That's the new normal.
I'll tell that to my 8-year-old.
Yeah. I am blessed with 2 amazing kids, right? My kids are older. That one's graduated from college, one's a junior in college, right? And my kids are just well balanced. But I think they're well balanced because I actually paid attention to them. They weren't allowed to play video games and do all that stuff when they were growing up, right? They could play video games, but 1 hour a week. And they say today, they're like, yeah, I'm so glad that you actually set those standards for me today, so that I see some of the people that I go to school with, and I'm like, that guy will never amount to anything. But it's happening more and more.
Should we take our kids to live executions too, since they're going to see death on TV? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no, they're basically saying that that's akin to your kid flipping through social media, so you might as well do it with them. It's sick. This is sick stuff. And this isn't just some nobody. It's George Stephanopoulos. He was in the Clinton administration. He's one of the leading newsmen on television. And it's his wife saying this. This is sick stuff. Sick stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue to get it out, and we're going to start fighting back. I mean, not start fighting back. We've been fighting back, but fighting back more collectively, so we're all coming and doing it together.
I mean,
right?
there's some good groups that are forming up. They're pushing back. Idaho is a really good example. They stood up 3 times and pretty much didn't allow a dang thing to happen because so many patriots came together, and the protesters, I'm going to say rioters and looters, just turned around and walked away. They didn't even confront them. In one incident, they did, and they got the crap beat down on them. Because again, there's patriots. You step up, they're not going to step down. The people are starting to come together. Finally, they were I want to say the silent majorities. I think they were just kind of like the ones that just wanted to go on their daily lives. They weren't even silent. They just didn't pay attention, and now they're paying attention. And those are the ones you're waking up, and those are the ones you're going to have to fear because they're pissed, and they're coming at you, and they're going to come at you hard and heavy. And I don't think Antifa is going to realize when we get organized. Even not just the group that I'm designing, but the other groups that are already out there, when we all come together and get organized, we're going to stomp your freaking faces in, and it's going to hurt. Maybe not physically, maybe not, physically.
You can say that.
But,
say it.
I'm saying it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
Right?
It happened on Sunday because the police are a bunch of, well, I'm not going to say the police. The leadership and the police were a bunch of pansies, and they allowed it to happen. Allowed civilians to just go at it. Fine, we're going to go at it. You better be ready because we're going to be ready. And you can take all the fighting lessons you want, but I've been fighting since the day I know I was born. So I've been fighting for a lot longer than you have. And so are the other people following right next to. I'm not going to say falling behind me. They're falling right to my left and right. So. The website, it's going to be coming up here shortly, so be ready. And it's going to be a process. It ain't, again, this is not a militia. It's not a 3% group. It's going to be a process for you to come on board, and we're only taking people who are going to be active. We're not taking keyboard warriors saying, "Oh, I'm part of this group. I'm just hanging out." No.
Well, we got some other ways that they can participate, though. Some other ways that they can actually be support, and other areas that they can support the communities, other pillars within that organization.
But you're going to be active. It's not just going to be I'm on social media talking crap. You're going to have to be active doing something.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we might have a couple on just to kind of. Yeah,
I like to have a couple warriors.
I got to have fun too.
Yeah, a couple keyboard warriors say a little bit here and there, egg them on, heckle them a little bit. Look, we have to. I know we're laughing about this, and it's not funny, but
it's serious.
But at the same time, we're just recognizing that they don't understand what's happening. They don't, and the more conversations that we have with people, the more that people are just fed up. We had that meeting this morning where, a ton of people got on the phone and said, let's go.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
I know everybody out there is eager and they want to do something, but again, if you don't do it right,
fail to plan, you plan to fail.
So I'm sorry about the slowness, but it has to go slow as well as fast.
Yeah. No, you got to make sure you do it right. Cross the T's, dot the I's, because as we talked about in the first part of the show, when you look at the McCloskeys, even if they technically had the law on their side, you have a district attorney who, yes, is backed by George Soros. They just got tens of thousands of dollars from a Soros-backed organization for her re-election campaign. You got to do it right, because if you slip up even a little bit, there are prosecutors, there are cops who want to use that as an opportunity to lock you up and take you out.
And that's
so
the
you
thing,
got to do it right.
And they're liberal Democrat. I mean, they're attacking their own just as much as we attack ourselves. Yeah.
We eat our own too.
We tear our own down. We got to stop doing that. They need to open their eyes. And you have no right to protect your home anymore. You have no right. I mean, you pretty much have to just hand them your keys and walk away. Is that what is that how you lived? You spent 20, 30, 40 years or even generations that had that house. You're allowing them to just walk in and do whatever they want. Is that what you want? Is that where this country is? You can't even protect and defend yours? I don't think so. I'm going to protect and defend mine no matter what.
Yeah, I think that we're past the part where we're willing to just have a conversation and talk about it.
No,
I mean,
I'm done talking.
Yeah. And then you had someone in the comments, Linda said Soros needs to be taken out. Soros, if you go to georgesoros.com, the number one thing he talks about is legalizing the sex trade, right? So making sex trafficking something that is normal and okay.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine all the women and children that get pushed through that environment it's disgusting. Yet that's the big thing for him is destabilize the United States. I mean, the guy's halfway dead anyway. But that while he's going out, he wants to take people with him. That's the absolute evil that we face.
So who's going to take his spot?
Yeah, well, somebody will. It's a vacuum, right? It's the same thing when you talk about
Al Qaeda
or there's no difference in my book from the Democrats, the left-wing loonies that are out here, and some of the radicalism that we're facing in the Middle East that caused so much death and destruction in those communities. And I want to tell you, if you're listening to this and you think that life is so hard here in the U.S., if you think it's so hard, man, I tell you what, I will send you, I will give you a list of 5 places, and I will pay to send you to one of those 5 places. Now, whether or not you come back alive is, it's entirely by chance. But I want to show you what it's like. You've been in those places. Mm-hmm. You've been in you've seen things that keep you up at night. I'm sure of it.
No, I keep other people up at night.
Well, but the things that you see, you can't unsee those things. You can't see the massive amount of oppression. You can't see even if we just ignore the war part, kids dying of the common cold, right? I mean, it's unbelievably, ridiculously horrible what is happening in other nations. You should be grateful for what you have here.
I mean, the slave trade in Libya is freaking booming.
Oh, booming,
and it's public.
Well, and Egypt.
It's public.
I mean, a place where you thought just a few years ago you go to the pyramids, right? Ride a camel in. That's a real thing, by the way.
That's the Obama administration that helped that out.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why I say the Democrat. We've got this new world, kind of philosophy or ideology that has permeated into the United States. Before we would keep it at bay, we'd keep it at our doorstep. Then they came and bombed our buildings, right, and ran airplanes into buildings. And now all of a sudden, 20 years later, we're allowing them to do the same thing, take over everything that we have as a country. It's just
because we want to appease them.
Yeah, and I don't want to appease anyone.
I'm not appeasing
right? You don't like it, get out.
Yep.
You want to talk like Omar, whatever her name is, naturalized citizen. I got a better idea.
Ilhan.
Whatever, Ilhan Omar. Go back to your country and just take this rhetoric with you. Just go back there, right? It's so great over there. Just go back there.
I think anybody running for office needs to have the same pretty much guidelines as running for president.
And we have some of that stuff that we're building into the organization as well. Not on the side that you're working on, but in other sides to make sure that the politicians that I actually do believe that FEC, and I'm not going to name the
group yet,
because out of respect for you and what we're doing, but I actually do believe that could become a political choice, right? It could become hey, you have the Democrats, the Republicans, and then you have FEC, Faith, Education, Commerce, and a united front. So and you notice we didn't say churches, we said faith. So, synagogues, mosques, so that we can have an ideology that is firmly fit on a community, right? So we know that we're going to defend and protect our community, kind of like they did way back 250 years ago, right? When you raised up arm against your neighbor, the other neighbors came out, and you didn't stand a chance. That's the type of mentality we have to have in our country. It used to be said that no one will actually invade the U.S. because we have the largest group of guns, or largest group of military, or not military, but armed citizens.
Well, the quote's usually attributed to Yamamoto. Whether he said it or not is up for debate. But he was asked, "Are you going to invade the United States?" He said, "Why would I do that? There's a gun behind every blade of grass."
Right.
Now that quote's disputed whether he said it, but it's definitely true.
If you only knew how unorganized it was, so.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
and we are.
Yeah, trying to find, but they've divided us. They've actually used division. They've used technology, used everything to divide us into places where. That's why I say, on the conservative side or libertarian side, wherever you stand, that accept people where they are, constitutional integrity-driven individuals. We get divided over this dumbest crap, right? Like, I don't like this person because, they have one degree or one philosophy that I don't agree with. Rather than saying, look, let's just look at the constitutional integrity. Let's just settle in on whether or not we want to protect the people in our community. So, I think that we're getting to that place where we're calling it out now, right? People don't want to get along. Like, just sit down and shut up, right?
Yeah.
I don't care if you guys don't like each other. I don't know why you don't like each other. You just don't like each other because you don't like each other. But we have a greater goal.
Well, I don't like you, but here I am.
Oh, there you go. Well, there you go. See, I was going to cuss just now. I was going to say something really bad.
Truth comes out.
Damn it.
But yeah, I mean, it's the
my
truth.
feelings.
We're being divided, and we got to stop the stupidity and come together for the common goal, which is again, just my biggest thing is defending, protecting what's ours, and that's it. We have to we got to stop allowing these people to going around destroying and threatening they're threatening to come into neighborhoods and rip people out of their homes and killing them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
We let it happen.
And it's posted. And people think it's not true. I think I still got the screenshot on my phone. It is true. They posted on the National Antifa website or Twitter account or whatever. I think it's the Twitter, but they're posting it. The threats are out there. And the thing is, people laugh and they joke, but look at your TV. Go Google what they're doing.
They're evolving.
They're attacking people.
Yeah,
they're killing
evolving.
people.
Yeah.
So
no, it's absolutely true. And there's going to be another front that's going to open up in the coming weeks and months. You're already seeing it. The old Never Trumpers from 2016 are out again. You have John Kasich, who's now going to be speaking at the Democratic Convention. You have all these other Never Trump so-called conservatives coming out of the woodwork. It's incredible. It's incredible the division taking place in this country. It's incredible how Trump is demonized. He's going to be announcing in a few minutes, so we'll probably wrap this up and then we'll live stream that as a separate live stream. But Trump's announcing that Operation Legend, that he's going to be sending more federal officers into American cities, like Chicago. I want to throw this up on the screen because we didn't get to talk about it. But it's the biggest. I think it's hilarious. Let's throw up image number 3. This is the Chicago mayor, Lightfoot. Under no circumstances will I allow Donald Trump's troops to come to Chicago and terrorize our residents. In less than 24 hours, Donald Trump has decided to do just that, and she's going to be powerless to stop him. I enjoy that, and it's amazing that she sent that tweet out right as people were being shot and killed in her city.
They don't care about people. That's the part that blows my mind. Like, how would you ignore the fact of what they're doing in the community? How? How would you ignore the fact that 14 people were shot and that you have no control and it's completely lawless and people are dying? You have a better chance of walking down the street with a cross on your back in Afghanistan and surviving in the middle of a Taliban stronghold than you do of surviving being on the streets of Chicago. That is a true statement. And these clowns are in leadership. You know what? We used to tar and feather these little asshats. That's what we need to do. We need to go out there. We need to tar and feather them, hang them up, and say, this is what we do to weak leadership, the people that actually want to destroy our communities.
Figuratively.
No,
figuratively tar and feather people. No, you were. You just don't know it yet. We were being figurative.
Sherry says the stormtroopers are coming. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we play the Star Wars music, but we'd be taken down for copyright violation.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone a little bit over. Tig, thanks for coming in. We'll definitely have you back on as you finish up with your organization, getting all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. But thank you for your insight. Great guest. Everyone in the comment section.
Even though you don't like me. I just gave him the salute, Mahi salute.
Oh yeah, Mahi salute. Well, again, thank you, Tig, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone in the comment section loved it, and as you finish out that organization, we'll definitely have you on so that people can get involved.
Roger. Thank you.
Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. If you like the podcast, watching it for the first time, make sure you like and follow our Facebook page. You can also, in our Facebook description, a bunch of links for how to join our community. You can also find the podcast if you have an iPhone on Apple Podcasts. If you have an Android phone, you can find it on the Google Play Store. Also find us on the Podbean app. We are soon to be on Spotify, so you'll soon be able to find us there, as well as conservative-daily.com. So make sure you check it out. Give us a subscribe if you're finding us for the first time. It really helps us out a lot. So again, my name is Max McGuire. Thank you for John Tiegen for stopping by. And Joe, any last words?
Courage. Courage is as infectious as fear, right? If not more infectious. So just have courage, stand up, and when the fight comes to the doorstep, be willing to stand with your other Americans.
Yeah, and as I always say, Courage is not the absence of fear. It's being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. So that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.